This video is to show two of the things that will cause your washing machine on a Whirlpool or Kenmore top load to just hum instead of doing the spin and drain cycles. If it won't spin, and of course it turns the same direction to drain as well, and just makes a humming sound, it's not real loud but it's noticeable, then something's locked up. Either the transmission itself is locked up, or the start capacitor right here on the motor is bad, or something's inside the water pump and got it jammed up, locking it up. An article of clothing could go through there and get stuck in there and lock it up. Well, to diagnose this, you'll need to look at my video that's in the description there for how to do the coupler or the coupling, and go in there and look at that video on how to take the machine apart and get down to where you have your motor assembly. We pull the motor assembly off, and then you can check these components and take the water hoses off. Now when you take the water hoses off of the water pump, you're going to get a lot of water coming out, whatever water is still on the machine, so be ready for that. To check this, which is the start capacitor, number one, when you remove the wires after that, do not touch those terminals. It will knock you hard. It carries a large charge of electricity in there, and it can even kill you, so do not touch those with your bare hand, and don't discharge it with a screwdriver or something across the terminals either. These can explode if you do that. The proper way to discharge a capacitor is by using like a light bulb, and of course you have the ground and the base there, and all I'm going to do is attach it to so that it touches each terminal. This is already discharged, you're not getting any light on there, but this is a regular 60-watt home interior light bulb, and you can use that to discharge it with to make sure that it's discharged. You can do it safely. Once it's discharged, you can proceed to testing it. Set your ohm meter on 2K on the ohms reading, or 1K is fine, up to about 5K. So somewhere in that range you want to set your ohm meter. And what's going to happen is, right now I've got a 1 on there, which is, it's actually an I for infinity, or some meters may read OL for open line. Once you touch them, of course, I get no resistance or very little resistance between wire to wire there. So we know the meter's reading. I'm going to attach one lead to one terminal of the capacitor and then the other lead to the other, and you're going to watch the meter here, and you're going to see that nothing happened, because this is the last time I had them on there. This is the way I had them. Now what you're going to do is you're going to reverse it, and you should see numbers count down and then go right back to infinity again. And let's see what it does. So you see numbers for about a second and it goes back to infinity. Now every time after that you reverse it, it should do the same thing. So I'm going to reverse it again. And there it goes. Okay. I'm going to reverse it again. You're going to see that it's going to do the same thing again. So this is a good capacitor, or a working capacitor. Is not completely dead. Okay, so the next thing, since we've ruled that out, we want to look at is the water pump. Now I left the water pump mounted on the face of this motor. You can remove the water pump completely from there by just undoing these straps. All you need is a flat blade screwdriver, and you can pop them up. Just twist and go into that little mounting hole there. Do the same thing on the bottom one. And that's removed it. Now it'll pull straight off the shaft, and sometimes it'll be a little bit stuck on there, but just give it a good yank. Should come right off. And in this case, I don't know if you can see that very clearly or not, but inside this pump over here is a piece of clothing. Looks like an old sock. Okay, side over here is clear, so it's gone all the way through into there and lodged itself. Of course, it tried to turn it through and couldn't. This is what was locking this one up, was a water pump with a foreign object in it, that it would not, couldn't push through and got it locked up and jammed. That's why it was just making a humming sound. In this particular case, it wasn't the capacitor, it wasn't the transmission, it was just the water pump. Sometimes you can remove that item with like a pair of vice grips, whatever's in there, and then it'll work fine. Sometimes it's wound in there so hard you can't get it out. It's just jammed in there too hard to get out, and you have to go ahead and buy a new water pump and put it on. Of course, the installation on the water pump is the opposite. You just slide it back on the shaft, and then reattach these. Put them back in the keyhole there, and then just snap it on. We'll do both of them, of course. So that's two things right here that you can test off the motor and the capacitor, and the water pump to look at it to see what was causing your washer not to spin but just sit there and make a humming sound.